If you tuned into my last show, together we learned about the Adoption Resource Exchange and all that it has to offer. Children who need a home and families wanting to adopt. For those who are interested in adopting, it might be helpful to get a little insight into what the family experience is like. With me in the studio today is a couple who knows exactly what it's like. Larry and Patricia Bumpus from Norwich, Connecticut have 5 biological children and 5 adopted children. Welcome to the show, Larry and Patricia.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bill.
Thanks for being here. So you've got an interesting situation. First of all, the thing that was interesting to me is, first of all, you blended a family.
We did.
Yeah.
You blended a family, and then you added more children on top of that.
Yeah,
So before we get to understand a little bit more about how you did that, what it was like for you, I was interesting that you told me that it was an open adoption.
Correct.
What makes that different from a traditional adoption?
Well, with an open adoption, the children still have contact with their biological parents, and we set up an actual agreement where the agreement that we set up with the parents is they get to meet with their children 2 hours a month at a mutually agreed upon place or at our house.
Oh, interesting. Does that ever get in the way for you? Does it
No.
get in the way? It doesn't, really?
Not at all.
It contributes to the family?
Yes.
Definitely. Yep.
Wow.
Yeah. One of the advantages of it is we have the biological parents that we can contact with as far as any health issues. We can get the biological parents' history, whereas with a closed adoption, you could never have that. It would only be a guessing game for any problems the children have.
Right, so that gives you a little bit more information that can help you out with any particular problems that you're having with your children.
Yeah, and that's not the only reason. I mean, we feel that we're here to add to the children's lives, not take away. And if it's a situation where the biological parents can be involved, we just feel that that's very, very beneficial.
Well, families like you are such angels to give these children a home who need a home so desperately, so that's great. So one of the questions I have for you is, how did the biological children react?
Actually, we discussed each adoption with the biological children beforehand, and they were all very positive on it. One of the things that we agreed, we got into this through foster care, and when we did foster care, we agreed we would not foster children older than our own children, so that they could still be the oldest, and that seems to have worked out well. They had good relationships with all the foster children and then our adoptive children.
Mm. Now, how are they? Is there bonding going on? Good bonding between the kids?
Yes. Well, the first 2 that we adopt, they are biological siblings, so the bonding there was already strong.
Oh, okay.
Okay. The next one we have, he's not biologically related to them, but there is pretty good bonding going on there. And then the last 2, again, are siblings. And it turns out that they're also second cousins of the first 2.
Oh, really?
Very, very strange twist of fate.
Interesting. Did you plan this?
No.
No? So, I understand that you're a parenting educator.
Yes.
How's that gone?
It's going very well. My biological children are all grown. The youngest is 22. So I'm able to use these techniques on our adopted children, and it's going very well with them. We've seen a lot of improvement as far as cooperation within the household.
So is there anything particular that you've done differently that has contributed to more of a positive environment at home?
Definitely. I think one of the biggest things we did is we started having family meetings in which we explained to the children exactly what was changing and how we were going to go about making these changes and how they would get benefits out of cooperating for us and vice versa. And we set up the list. In fact, we even went through the emotional bank account with the children.
Oh, great.
Yes.
Now, 2 of the children are not completely adopted, right? You're in a waiting period?
Week from tomorrow.
Week from tomorrow?
Yes.
Okay.
March 1st.
And so what has to happen in that time period, or is it just a waiting period?
Well, right now it's just a waiting period.
Uh-huh.
Prior to that, what happens is when you agree to adopt, actually before we can get to that, DCF takes a look at 3 different families, and then they decide which one fits better with the children that are going to be adopted. And because of the fact that we've had one of them since he was 3 days old and the other one since he was 6 months old as foster, we had that bit of an advantage as far as becoming the adopted parents.
Mm-hmm. If people are considering adopting, what do you say to them?
Go for it.
Go for it?
Definitely.
Go for it, definitely.
If you think that you want to do foster care or adopting a child, just try it.
Now, see, I've always thought fostering and adopting are 2 totally different things.
They definitely are.
Okay.
Okay.
But does fostering eventually lead to adoption?
Of course, almost 70% of foster parents.
Really?
We didn't know that when we became foster parents, but after we started adopting, they admitted to us that 70% of people who become foster parents end up adopting some children.
Is that right?
Yes.
And what are the ages of your adopted children?
13, 11, 8, 2, and 1.
Now, any interaction between... Oh, wait a minute. So your biological children, do they have any children? Do you have any grandkids?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Yes.
Oh, so you've got grandkids that possibly interact with your adopted children. How's that going?
Well, it goes very well. They more or less relate like cousins. For example, our oldest adopted child is 2 weeks younger than our oldest grandchild, so they get along very well. And then our next grandchild is right, he's 3 years old, so gets along well with our 2-year-old.
With our 2-year-old.
Yes.
And then our
And
littlest grandchild is 10 months old.
yeah, and our 1-year-old who's going to be adopted next week, they're like in love with each other. It's amazing.
Everyone always has someone to play with and hang out with.
Would you change anything?
Never. Nope.
Nothing, huh?
Not a thing. Not a thing.
But any advice for parents that want to adopt? Anything, do's or don'ts?
If the situation warrants, I would say to really give the biological parents a shot.
Yeah.
Just try to open your hearts and put yourself where they are. They're losing something.
Yeah. So
and
be
most of the
sympathetic to their
time, they
position.
feel that loss.
Well, thank you so much for coming in here.
Okay.
It was great having you in and talk about
Thank you,
adoption.
Bill.
Children's books provide great stories and wonderful moral lessons for our children to learn from. Coming up after the break, we'll meet a local author who has penned a children's book that contains a powerful and very unique message that you'll want to have for your child's bedside. Stay with us. We'll be right back.